Hello, everyone. Today we are back with Pirie Jones Grossman. How are you today, Pirie?
It's so good, Kelly. It's so good to meet you and see you, live because I've been listening to your podcast and enjoying all of your incredible interviews. So I feel very honored to be a guest on your show. So thank you.
Thank you for coming on. And your podcast is amazing too. So we're definitely going to have to tell everyone more about it so they can check out what you're doing. Because I think it's really cool when we find ourselves in a similar space as someone else, but we all have like different ways that we offer the different messages. And even you can hear the same message from one person to the next and find different tidbits within it, right? Different little
Yeah,
like gold nuggets. So
absolutely.
yeah, so thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
The first question I always love to ask my guests is, what sparks your soul?
oh boy. I've heard you ask this question and I should be prepared. um, my honest answer in the beginning would say my kids, of course, but to get my kids, I had to do something else. So, what really sparks my soul is my purpose in life and healing people. I went through a massive healing experience myself and I learned some amazing tools and met some teachers. And so I just had this beautiful healing that happened in my life. So seeing that happen to other people really lights me up. And then, of course, my two teenagers who are amazing and my boyfriend, David. So I think love really lights me up.
Yes. Oh, love lights me up too. Love lights up the world if we were all a little bit more tapped into love in all different capacities. Wow, the world would be a really incredible place, right?
That's right. I know. It's very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So, will you tell us about your story, how you got to where you are now and, your spiritual awakening, and then,
Hmm.
how you've become this empowerment life coach and an expert in spiritual psychology and the host of Own Your Throne?
Oh, I know. That's so much fun to do now. Well, I'll start back and I'll do the short version. But I was raised in South Texas by a mother who was schizophrenic. So she's very mentally ill. At 6 years old, she put a gun to my head in the backyard and said, I want you to put your face in the ground, and literally put the gun to the back of me and said she needed to kill me because my father loved me more than her. And where is a 6 year supposed to go? So she left. Obviously, she didn't pull the trigger. Went back in the house, and after a while, I went back into my bedroom and I just fell asleep, Kelly. And I know it's so weird to explain it, but I think I was in so much shock as a little thing. I just, just fell asleep, tried to get away from it. My father came home. Um, then my mother came back in before he came home and said, listen, I want this to be our little secret. I don't want you to tell your dad. Now, there's something in a schizophrenic's eyes that I'm sure some listeners, if they've experienced them, what happens is you can read their eyes. You can see if they're not there, if the personality that you know and the person you know is not in that light of their eyes and their eyes get cold and dark. That's the schizophrenic part. That's the part that's mentally ill. So when she came back in the second time, I saw my mom. My mom came back. And she said, I'm so sorry, please don't tell your dad, it's be our secret. Well, my dad came in a couple times and we're very, very close. And I ended up telling him. Well, what transpired after that was he had to call, social services and had to have her committed to a mental institution for 3 years. And my mom only came back once a year to visit. So I still had a lot of fear with her. But the beautiful thing that happened, we talk about our soul's curriculum as spiritual beings, having a human experience. And this was my first big lesson down the path of spirituality. And that was the neighbors who lived 2 houses down from me happened to be a preacher and his wife. And they were, pastor of the First Baptist Church. And, I never heard about God. My mom was atheist and my dad was an agnostic. So I just loved these stories about God. And I really connected in a very, very young age. So then I got so excited, I wanted to teach these, Bible classes. So I'd have blankets outside in the backyard of people's homes, and I start teaching Bible stories. And I just became like a little soldier, a little light bearer for God. And I think the reason it happened is because God wanted me to know I wasn't alone. And that light and that power and that witness that entered my heart, I never believed I was ever alone one other day since then. So that was kind of the beginning of it. From then, I ended up going to Oral Roberts University, loved it, and got married when I was 23 to a pastor. And then my life changed. I lost contact with God, I guess you can say. I decided, I was taking some acting classes in Dallas at the time, started having small roles in some movies. And this director said, why don't you go to LA? I think you'd be perfect. You could do soap opera and you commercials. And, I really loved having something of my own. And what I learned that I did in college and my first marriage is I lost myself. I really lost who I was. I didn't even know what kind of furniture I liked. I didn't know what kind of ice cream I liked. I gave my life over to the man that I was with. So I got an invitation to go to LA. I went, and the first audition that I went to, I booked. It was a national commercial for Bud Light. So here's an old Robert Christian girl, going for a Bud Light girl. And I know God has a sense of humor. So I told my husband, and he didn't like it. He wanted me to come back to Dallas. He wanted me to have babies. And we separated. I knew him. I met him when I was 16. We got married, separated 9 years later. So I stayed in LA. And from there, I found, that I was terrible as an actress. Oh my God. If I could play myself, I was kind of fun, but if I had to play any other kind of character, I was so bad. But I did find hosting. I loved hosting. So I was one of the original hosts on, we were Movie Time before it became E. So it was Movie Time, E, Fashion Channel, which became QVC. I mean, so I found
so cool.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
And, I truly loved LA. But I really got away from my religious parts of me. And I say religious because that's what it was to me then. It wasn't spiritual. So from there, I'll just, cut to the chase. I've been married 4 times, divorced 4 times. I met and married a probably the most popular movie producer in LA. He did Pretty Woman, Face Off. And so we fell in love, had this magical marriage, and we lived in Bel Air, and here was this e-girl and this top movie producer. So we decided to have a baby. And I stopped working at E, and I just solely focused on becoming a mom. Now, I'd not done any healing my own relationship with my mother. And so I was scared. I didn't know what was going on, but I thought, I'm so in love with this man. And he had a darling little girl who became, my stepdaughter. And we tried 2 surrogates later, drugs, in and out of hospitals. I get lost 30 pounds. I've got down to about 98 pounds. And one day he came home after we had, just not any luck at all. For about 3 years, he came home and just said, I want a divorce. I'm done. You can't have a child, and I want one, and I don't want to be married anymore. And Kelly, I can't even describe. I was so happy.
Yeah.
And we were so in love. And for him to come home literally overnight and just say it's done. Now, you gotta remember, I had a body riddled with drugs. I mean, just riddled with fertility drugs. I was so messed up. And when he came in, I was laying down in our media room on a sofa. I'd just gotten out of the hospital, which is why I couldn't go with him. He came to Sun Valley, Idaho. That's how I got here, to take some time to think about things. I couldn't travel, but he left me alone. And that's when he made the decision. So when he told me, I had no fight in me. And remember,
Yeah.
I lost faith. I lost everything. I was a shell of myself. And so I thought, you know what? I could never create my life again. I was 39 years old at the time. And so I thought it would be easier if I just took my life. So sitting in front of me were about 10 bottles of pills, sleeping pills, pain pills, all kinds of pills. And I swallowed over 350. And I laid down on the sofa, and I remember this just like it was yesterday. I placed my hands over my heart, and I swallowed the pills, and I just said, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, I pray this Lord my soul to take. So I was ready to just accept it. That was the end. And somehow during the night, I ended up back in our bed, in our bedroom. I was vomiting violently. And my husband was there, and the EMTs were there. And I just remember a lot of lights, a lot of talking, a lot of sound. Turns out I went to the hospital. I was in a coma for a while. They pumped my stomach. And I had a visitor in my room. It was a night nurse. I woke up, and she told me what I had done. And I was pretty ashamed of myself. I had a lot of guilt. And I said, you know, I'm dying. I know, I just want to go. And she was sitting in a chair next to my bed, in a rocking chair. She put her hand out to me, and she was this wonderful, spiritual Black woman. And she started singing these hymns to me. And she's like, God has said it's not time for you to go yet. You're staying here. You're not going anywhere. And I said, no, I am. And she's, nope, God's not done with you yet. And she sang those hymns to put me back to sleep just before my parents came. So the next morning, the doctor came to my bed like at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up, and I was like so refreshed. And I thought, the life came back in me. And the doctor looked at me, was even shocked, and he said, you look amazing. What happened? And I said, you got to go get the night nurse, because I've got to tell her thank you. She brought me back to life. He says, okay. So he brings back this nurse, and she's this tiny little blonde. And I went, yeah, no, that's not the nurse. And he said, well, no, honey, this was your night nurse. And I looked at him, and I thought, no, she was sitting in this rocking chair. And I looked, and it was not a rocking chair. It was a regular chair. And I realized then, so the doctor looked at me, and he goes, did you have a visitor? And I just started crying, and I said, yes, I did. I had a visitor.
Oh my God, I'm like about to cry right now. That is like, seriously, I have tears. Wow.
So it was so, I mean, Kelly, I still feel it in my heart, and it was so powerful. And in that moment, in an instant, I had decided, first of all, I recognized that was a miracle. It was a visit by an angel. It was a remembrance for me to remember who I am, what my purpose is, and it's not my time to die. And so how am I going to make the most of my life? What's ahead of me? And I just switched like that. So I think all those years of being in the church and growing and having faith just came swimming back into my heart and my soul. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make it. I'm going to recreate. So the divorce happened. I, went to Texas for a little bit to see my family, and I decided to move to Sun Valley, and I started completely over. And then a couple years after that, my ex-husband died. And one of the words he said to me was, I know this is going to be the worst act of my life, is divorcing you. And he said, I probably won't live long from it either. And I was thinking, that's such a strange thing to say. Well, he passed 4 years after, very young. But when I came here, I was just in that frame of mind of, I wanted to be a student again. I wanted to be on that journey again. Who am I? What's my purpose? I did this whole thing in LA, but you know what? I wasn't doing my purpose.
Yeah.
And I knew what it was, but I had to start a new journey. I know that was a long story.
Oh my God. No, I mean, it's so incredible. There's like so many things I want to touch on. And it's just wow. So, first of all, I just love how obviously you now are looking back and you see all of these different points in your life that led you to this point. I think it's so powerful to come to a place in our lives where we can look back and understand why we had to go through each thing that we went to really step into our purpose. And it's really hard for a lot of people to do that, you know?
It is. There was a spiritual law, though, and principle that I truly believed in then. And it since then has strengthened me and gotten even more powerful. And that is, we always have a choice in how we respond. As I said, we're spiritual beings here having a human experience. This is Earth School. So our soul is here to advance in lovingness and to advance into wisdom. That's why we're here. So when we connect to the power that we have as human beings and our purpose, and we take the responsibility and we start there and we claim it, I did not want to be in the victim mode. The divorce, in my instance, the divorce happened really quickly because I didn't want that energy still happening with me as I'm recreating myself in my life. I still wanted children. So I started the adoption process. And so I knew what I wanted, but I knew I had to take responsibility for the things I did that were not so great, make amends to some people that I had hurt, forgive myself for an act of trying to take my life. I had so much shame and guilt. But instead of staying in that victim mode, I said, nope, I'm going back into my powerful mode and co-created a new life with God. As you can tell, I'm a faith girl. So people who are listening, if God doesn't resonate with you, call it a higher power, spirit, whatever, but there is an energy of grace and power that has given us so many gifts to come to the world to make it a better place. So I think that was the first mindset piece that I knew. So you have to, when you make that decision and then you look in your life and you take an inventory of your life and say, what do I need to get rid of? What are all my limiting beliefs? What are all my, what are my values? And what do I want? So I started writing them down and manifesting them, saying, I want children. I was 40 years old now. I wanted children. I wanted a loving relationship. I wanted to get back into doing something in wellness and based on my own spiritual journey. And I became a light. I didn't cover my light anymore. I stopped dimming my light. And I know a lot of people out there, they think, wow, if I step out and I really go out there and put myself out there, I don't feel so comfortable, so I'm going to kind of hide a little bit or hide behind somebody else or hide at home and say it just didn't work. No, make that commitment to yourself. Step out. Let your light shine as bright as it can be, because God knows we need all the light bearers in the world right now to shine our lights out, right?
Absolutely.
And that's when the journey really started happening. It was almost like universe was saying, okay, this is what you want to do, then we're going to start creating that. From that, I met this amazing bright light man, Jim Grossman, who is the father of my kids. I have two now. I had my son, we had 7 miscarriages, so it was not easy. I found out I had some kind of a blood disorder, so we got that figured out. So I had my son when I was 44, and I had my daughter when I was 46. And they were all natural childbirths. I didn't need fertility drugs. They were just created. And I had a vision of them before they came. So you talk about the power of meditation. Meditation was a big part of my life and part of my spiritual journey. So I asked God, how can I communicate, with this child? Well, I had a vision that there were 2. And I had this one spiritual teacher said, when you talk to your children, don't talk to them like they're children. Talk to them as spirits, as adult spirits. So I did. And I started telling them, what kind of mom I would be, why I wanted them to choose me, how I would support them, whatever their purpose was. I was an older mom, but we would make a great fit. I just, you know, just,
Yeah,
yes, just putting it out there and affirming and using your positive words, putting that energy out there, which is how we manifest, right? How do
totally.
we feel when we get
Yeah.
that dream? So, yes, I have those two amazing heartbeats.
Oh, well, congratulations. And that's such an incredibly inspiring story. I actually read Spirit Babies recently by Walter McKitchen. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I have not read it yet. No.
I mean, he literally says to do the same thing that you just said. So that's so cool too. I just love when we can take the same knowledge from different places and
Yes.
I mean, it's spirit, but it's cool when it's coming from different sources. And then, I love when I like listen to a podcast or read a book and I'm reading concepts that I feel like I've like gotten from spirit on my own, and I'm reading
Yes.
someone else write about it or hearing someone else talk about it. It's so powerful and just reaffirming. Do you think that obviously along with like figuring out you had a blood disorder, but doing that healing
Mm.
is what, and the meditation and speaking to your spirit babies and all of that,
Mhm.
is what allowed your body to open up and be ready for, holding a spirit baby and then giving it life like that. We have to do that healing sometimes, especially when the childhood wounds are so deep, right?
Oh, no doubt, sweetie. I did do the work with my mom before I got pregnant. I had to forgive my mom. I had to forgive my ex-husband. I had to forgive myself first and to clean all the stuff that was inside me for me to be able to bring in these two bright lights. And
Mm-hmm.
I also had to, um, just put myself out there, because people would tell me, I had more people telling me it was impossible for me to get pregnant. I had 7 doctors, fertility specialists, who said, you cannot get pregnant. Your embryos are not in good shape. You are too old. I mean, I heard so much negative chatter just like this. And I was like, you know what? But I know that I know they're there and they want to come into me. And the forgiveness of my ex-husband, I also had to let go of that dream, because I was putting all my eggs in one basket, literally,
Yeah.
where I thought this was the only man. He was supposed to be the one I was supposed to have children with. It never occurred to me until afterwards. Here I was willing to take my life because I was so fixed on one dream and one thing that I thought was the only way to happen. I mean, can you imagine how people we do
Mhm.
that? Instead of
Yeah.
just saying, hey, wait a minute, this door is closed. So, maybe this isn't the right man for me. Maybe there's someone better that my kids want to come through. How about that
Yeah.
as a reframe? So when I let that go and I allowed spirit and I allowed God to look at other possibilities and let me see those possibilities. And when I met this, amazing man as the father, I thought, oh my gosh, this is what God wanted. This is what maybe the kids wanted. Maybe they
Yeah.
wanted Jim to be their dad instead of Steve. So instead of making it bad and wrong and all those things just because they didn't go in accordance to my plan, right? It was in the highest good of all. It was in
Yeah.
my highest good to have these children with Jim. It was in the kids' highest good to have him as their father. It was in their highest good to be raised in Sun Valley, Idaho versus Los Angeles. So whenever you have a dream or you have a one way that you think you can only get there, be flexible and ask and pray and ask, is this in the highest good for
Yeah.
all?
Yeah. Yeah. I always say that when I teach manifestation, like we need to ask God or the universe or whoever we consider that higher power for what we want. And I believe that, when we really want something and we feel it in our heart, that it's coming from our soul and it is meant for us. But we have to ask for it and then we have to let it go. Because just like you
Absolutely.
were saying, when we attach,
Yeah.
we end up delaying it coming into our lives because we're with the wrong person or we're in the wrong place or whatever. And we just have to let ourselves be open to what the universe is going to give us to bring us to that thing that we
Yes.
want.
Yes. And if you line your actions up and your words up and your thoughts up, and you really are in alignment with what's good in the world, you've gotten yourself
Mhm.
cleaned up, right?
Mhm.
Then when you ask that, and if you're in a relationship and it breaks up all of a sudden, it's okay. Yes, I know it hurts. Believe me, I've been there. It hurts like hell. But always think first before you do anything impulsively, or you go beat up on yourself or whatever. Ask yourself, wait a minute, maybe I'm not supposed to be with him. There's somebody better.
Mhm.
you know Always look at what the possibilities are. Or the minute a door shuts, instead of trying to go in and force it open, just stand back for a minute and go, the door's shut. Okay, maybe I need to pivot. Maybe I need to do a recourse. Maybe I need to look at other possibilities. And that's the issue. So many people think they don't deserve it, they're not lovable, they're not talented, or they weren't pretty enough. Just saying, just the end of a relationship. We
Mhm.
think automatically all those things because those are old beliefs, right? And
Yeah.
limiting beliefs. Instead of, if you're really on your path, on your soul path, when that door shuts, you're like, oh, it's probably not for me. Okay. Well, I know there's going to be a better one because I'm fabulous. you know,
Exactly.
I'm full of light. I'm gorgeous.
Duh.
Who doesn't want me?
Yeah.
So, that's where we need to go instead of going into the negative role. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, glass half full instead of glass half empty. And
Right.
and I have so many tools up my sleeve, and I've been doing this work for about 6 years. But I still find myself, my mind wanting to go back to that place of, my old limiting beliefs that I now am so aware of that I can like see them when they come up. But
Yeah.
the mind goes into that automatic, like negative mode a lot of times. So I just think it's important to point out to people that even when you're teaching this stuff or you've been
Yeah.
doing it for a long time, your mind might go there, but then you have these tools to like bring you back. So you remember, like, I am amazing. I am on my life path. And if the door's shut, like, thank you. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
universe. Thank you, God, because
Yeah.
now I can turn around and go a different direction and
On
find the
the
right
right path.
direction. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're always learning, aren't we? We're going to be learning until we're dead.
Yep.
I think that's it. We can never say, okay, I'm as enlightened as, Deepak Chopra is a friend of mine. And I've been around some amazing teachers, and I've always asked them stuff like that. And they're like, no, are you kidding? We're still learning. We still have an ego, Pirie. We still have an ego. And that's what it is. It's the ego, because the ego is like a little computer. It remembers every single past experience we've had, all of our early learning, our parents' learning, our friends, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And the spirit, our soul, our authentic self, is the one that is just nothing but unconditional love and just purity. So that when you're in it, when, let's say, something is stressing you out there, there's some kind of, I'm upset because blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
Or, there's some external thing, someone just gets you mad, or an event or whatever, and you're triggered, right? Then we automatically go into the ego, and then we're like, oh, we start, that's so ridiculous. And we go into this whole negative thing. We just, we stop ourselves instead of just looking at the trigger and realizing all the trigger is to show you what still needs to be healed inside of you.
Mhm.
It's never another person's fault. It's never another person's desire to hurt you. It's none of that. And if we could just truly believe that, it will take us so much faster to move from one thing to the next. That awareness of, I'm triggered, I'm upset. Okay, what's this about? Instead of, that guy's such a dick. He's such a blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He said it made me do this, and I hate him, and I'm never going to see him, blah, blah, blah. That's what I did. Instead of,
Yeah.
when I learned the tools, right?
We
And
all
we
done it. Yeah.
Oh my God, we all do it. And it's okay. I give myself like a 5-minute pity party. Sometimes it lasts longer, but
Depending on the trigger and how like
yeah,
deep that wound is.
exactly. Sometimes the trigger keeps being the same one. And it's like when I
Yeah.
finally say, okay, what is it I'm not getting? What
Mhm.
is it? And that's truly what we were talking about, taking responsibility of your life. When you can do that for yourself, oh my gosh, there's such peace and divineness, and just, you're just like in the sea, on a boat. So you're just so full of love, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't matter, because it's not your stuff.
Yeah.
And, when it is, that just means, hey, get to work, pay attention. What I do sometimes, and this is a little trick that I've learned, and I learned this from Dr. Mary Holnick, who's one of the teachers at University of Santa Monica. And she said, when our minds go crazy and we have all these thoughts, these little gremlins, and they're like, oh my God, you're so stupid. That was just ridiculous. I can't believe you said that. Oh my God, what are you going to do now? You lost your job. What a jerk. And all these things. She says, I will tell them, okay, just go. You got 2 minutes to go. Just tell me everything you want to do, and you're like halfway listening and blah, blah, blah. And then you say, okay, enough. Now, if you're driving, get in the backseat of the car and shut up, because you've had your time. You've had your
I love that.
And don't try to stop them. If you
Yeah.
need to grieve, take that time to grieve. If you need to get angry from a trigger, whatever, be pissed off. That's okay. Get it out, write it out, do whatever you need to do to get it out. But you don't ignore them, and you don't stuff those emotions down, because they just, they get all triggered inside your body, and you get sick, and you do all these things. But just give them just say, hey, oh yeah, I see you're here. Okay, what's your message? All right, cool. I got it. See you later.
Yeah. And then, okay, this is what I need to work on a little bit more clearly, because it's been triggered and all of that. Yeah. I realized, and I said this on an episode of my podcast, semi recently. I was driving to lead this retreat in Joshua Tree in September, and I'm on the freeway, and a rock hits my windshield. And it wasn't it was like a crack, and then it popped, and the thing spread across my whole windshield. And I'm like, getting all upset. I'm like, oh, it's going to be so expensive, all this stuff. And then I was like, oh, okay, wait a second. What is this a lesson in? Abundance, pulling myself out of that scarcity mindset, so on and so forth. But then I just thought it was so cool, because I'm like, I've been working so hard on this for so long. And it's now I can basically almost immediately usually find the lesson in something. And then to do exactly what you said, let it okay, I'll let myself sulk in it for a little bit. And then what's the lesson? We're going to move forward, and having that just constant feeling of support and trust. Just like you said you had when you were a little girl, right?
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes when things happen to us that trigger us, we automatically assume they're bad. Yeah. We think because we're triggered and we're upset, it was a bad thing. Well, what if, just to play with your situation, what if that rock happening, helped you pay attention to that, where you weren't going to be swerved in another lane? Or let's say, there was an accident that could have happened, and this, somehow saved you, helped you, whatever. We just don't know. We don't know. So if we automatically assume it's a bad thing, that's where you need to work on your mentality of saying, wait a minute, why do I keep looking at the glass half empty? I'll get into a gratitude thing. If I can't find one reason why that was a good thing, I'll say, okay, thank you, God. Thank you. I don't know why I'm thanking you right now, but I'm just saying thankful. I'm being grateful that, hey, I wasn't killed. I wasn't in an accident. I didn't run over somebody, or, I'm just being grateful. And when you get that grateful word in your brain, it keeps your brain busy, where it circulates on the gratefulness and the positive things, instead of just going downhill in the negativity. You know what I'm saying? Because we control that too. We can change the whole way our brain thinks and triggers, and it's just all in 1 second. We decide, how are we going to respond? What's your choice? And you know what? There's some of my clients that come in, they go, my choice is to be a victim today. And I'll start laughing. I'll go, okay, let's be a victim for a while. Let's play that out for a while. And I limit it. And then we turn it around, because I think the one thing that I've learned most people don't understand in this life is how much power you truly have in creating the life you want. You really can turn it around. And I've seen miracles after miracles after miracles. So don't lose hope. Look at it with curiosity. and just look at it with what if, and but still have that mindset. And you can use certain things. I have apps that I use. I have books that I use. I watch movies, TV series. I'll always keep my mind, particularly if I'm in a negative space for whatever reason, I keep my mind on good things, because there's a seed faith principle that I learned at Oral Roberts, and it's named another way, but whatever you put in yourself, whatever you say, whatever you do, all of that is what you're going to reap. So if you're planting seeds of grievances and seeds of victim and seeds of I'm not good enough or no one likes me, that's the crop you're going to get back. Mm-hmm. So like we said, God is law. God says when we speak is what we get, right? So we put it out there. I want this. I want more love. Well, then you got to give more love. And it's like, wait, I need more. I'm giving too much. No, give a little bit more. Because if you're not getting it, it's because you're not putting it out there. Yeah. That's something that we have to always remember. What am I putting out there to getting the crop that I want?
Yeah. I think they also call it like the principle of reciprocity. Yes. Right? Yeah. Yeah. That's so beautiful. What other tools? So for example, if someone is finding themselves in a really dark place, like a rock bottom type place, or just this constant spiral of negativity, what do you recommend to your clients that they start with to cultivate that awareness so that they can begin to actually choose from a conscious place?
Oh, yeah. It's, you always start with simple steps. It takes time. I always tell people, first thing to do, and we forget to do this, when we need something, the universe is huge, right? There's a lot of amazing energy out there and light bearers out there. We have to ask for help. Number one, if you want help, ask for it. Put it out there. I don't care if you believe in God or not. Just put it out there to say, I need help, please. Right? First thing. Second thing you do is be really gentle on yourself. If you're really in a place of, let's say, there's a lot of depression going on right now. Mm-hmm. I work with the suicide group. Suicide is up 600%. If you're just feeling like not right. So these are the two steps. Ask for help. Be gentle with yourself. Third thing to do, and this, people forget about this, is remember what brings you joy. Do something that just brings you pure joy that you love doing. For me, I love being out in nature. I go take hikes, I'll walk around because I need to pray. Sometimes I need to scream and yell. I need to do whatever just to reconnect. I take my shoes off. I get grounded, in the dirt, and I ask for help, and then I expect it and I look for it. I look for the little signs. I look for maybe someone's just telling me something right at the perfect time that I need to hear it. I'll reach out. This is another important thing. It's so important you reach out to other people you trust, people that can hear you so you don't feel alone. Mm-hmm. When you're going through a difficult time, your natural desire is to retreat and hibernate. That's the worst thing you could do. Reach out first, keep moving forward, keep asking for help, and slowly your body will start responding to some of those positive things. Another tool that I use is journaling. And I tell my clients, if they don't even know what's wrong with them, I say, well, ask your little girl, ask your little boy. It's like, well, how do I do that? It's like, get a picture of yourself as, 4, 5, 6-year-old, put that picture in front of you, get a notepad, write in your non-dominant hand. So if you want to ask her, why are you crying? Why do you feel, why are you hurting? Because we as women, our little girls rule it sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. So they need to be heard. They need to be paid attention to. So ask her, look at the picture, just ask her, why are we sad? Why are we feeling this way? Start writing, and you will be surprised what comes out on the paper. It will be her voice. And you keep writing and writing and writing until the woman part comes out of you. And like, you may be, I cried for hours doing this process. And I got it all out, and I took over my regular hand. And then I got angry, and then I just put it all out on paper until finally it ends when it ends naturally. You naturally slow down. You start feeling better. You're breathing more.
Mm-hmm.
The emptiness is gone. You start feeling lighter. So I know everyone has heard these tools before. It's not something that's brand new, but do it. Take action. You can hear it all the time, but if you just create a sacred space, in your home, put a candle, picture of your little one, get some note. I have I'm not kidding. I've got about 100 of these legal pads all over my house, pens all over the place. And I just write and get it out, because you've got to release those toxic emotions. Then you can put the good stuff in. Then after I've done that and I feel a little bit better, I will not go back and address the same situation. I'll forget it. I'll start doing something that brings me joy. And that's just the beginning. There's deeper work that we can do, that, how to find. Most people don't even know what their limiting beliefs are. So
Yeah.
How do we find those?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ways that you can find those things, and they just go away. Once you address them and they heal, you just get lighter and lighter and lighter. When I went to USM for 2 years, and I had this one girlfriend in Denver, and she hadn't seen me in a while. And after I graduated, I went to see her, and she goes, "My God, what did you do?" And I said, "What? Why?" She goes, "You look 10 years younger." I said, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah." And that is the best beauty secret, is getting all this caca out of us.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I love that, because it's like, as you're releasing those emotions that have been built up within you for maybe your whole life up to this point, you do get lighter. And I always say that it's like you start to glow from the inside out.
Mm-hmm. You do. Well, you know how important yoga is in meditation. I know you do a lot of that, and that's the basis of a lot of your work and your healing. And, people will say, "Oh, how do I do yoga? How do I meditate? How do I pick something that resonates with you?"
Yeah.
Um, my best girlfriend asked me, "Oh, I can't meditate." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "Who has time to sit, do the position and cross legs and da da da?" And I go, "That's not how I meditate." She's like, "Well, how do you meditate?" And I go, "My first meditation is in the morning when I wake up, my eyes open, and I lay in bed, and I just ask God to just use me and let me be a light to people that I come in contact with, and let me be doing the things I should be doing this day, and give me guidance and strength and wisdom and love." It's like 10-minute prayer, set my intention for the day. And that's my first morning meditation. And then, you're kind of meditating all during the day as you're in this state. And
Yeah.
you don't have to work so hard at it. It doesn't have to be that difficult.
No, and I like to say it's like, I call it a spiritual toolbox, and it's, all the things that you just mentioned, like journaling, meditation, yoga. I'm really into breath work. Going out in nature. I love that you brought that up, because that is my number one way to just come back to myself. And it's grounding, and it's heart opening, and it just does all the things for you. And when I'm going through a hard time, it's like, I especially make it a time to go out of nature. I'm in San Diego, so I have the beach,
Sure.
but I love to go on like a nature trail surrounded by trees and like all of the green, and it's just so important. But yeah, we can have this spiritual toolbox that we pull stuff out of, during different times in our life. We need different things at different points depending on what we're going through. But sitting in stillness is so important to hear God or source or
Yes.
whoever that is to you, and to also hear your intuition or your higher self, your soul,
Yes.
and to tap into that. And same thing. My first thing I do in the morning is I lay in bed and meditate. Sometimes I sit up,
Yeah.
but more than half the time I'm laying down, and it's okay if that's how you need to do it in the morning,
Yeah.
go for it. And then if you want to like get up or go somewhere, like I've all my clients do their morning meditations differently, but I make them all do it first thing in the morning, as
Yes.
well as journaling. And, you know, they get to pick their position and where they do it in their house and all of that. And you just have to do what works for you and what will get you to do it.
Exactly. And it's just, you just have to start it. Start it. If you don't have any kind of a daily practice, just try some things and see what resonates with you and what gives you, you know, that sense of empowerment. And, you know, meditation, our dreams come through meditations, our visualizations come through meditation. That's how I met my children. That's how I saw, you know, I've worked with so many different people, and how I decide, should I work with this person? Should I take this project? You know, I go into meditation and I ask, and the message and the answer comes in really clearly. And then I'll get a whole visual of what it looks like. And I know it's not me. I know that if you're just willing to be used, you know, in a way that helps the world, you'll get downloads. We call them spiritual downloads, that you'll just get so excited, you know. And if you're in a place, again, I don't know why I want to keep talking about this, but it's coming forward in me. If you're in this place, if you just feel like you've lost hope and, you know, God, is it going to get any better? You've lost jobs or something is happening. The best thing that can help you get out of that state is to go be in service. I had a situation where my last divorce, happened, separation, and then my father died unexpectedly. And I literally fell apart. My kids were little. I was completely distraught again, but I had more tools. So I knew what I needed to do. And a friend of mine came to me, as one of the founders of the Sun Valley Wellness Festival, came over, laid in bed with me because I was in bed watching Oprah and eating chocolate bonbons all day. That was my...
Got to do it sometimes.
I know you just got it, sister. So I was like, you know, popping the bonbons, and I knew enough to be at least watching Oprah. And so he came in and he, you know, laid down next to me and he said, honey, I know you're hurting. I know your heart's broken. I know all of this stuff. And he said, and I love you dearly. He said, but I need you to think about how you can be in service. And I looked at him and I said, are you kidding? I have nothing to give. I'm so broken. And he said, yeah, but that's when it comes. That's the most power, is when you're vulnerable. Because when you're in that sense of vulnerability and you're giving of yourself and you're seeing other people that need help, that buoys you up. So find something, even like right now during the holidays, even during COVID, whatever you can do, pick a person, pick a situation, do something where you're giving to that person and you're giving in service of your heart. And that will come back to you in spades, tenfold. And it'll help you, you know, put the next foot in front of you and the next foot and the next foot. So you can start in baby steps. You don't have to do a big production in the world. Just start in the world that you're in and be used, you know, and be of service to the people that are around you. That's another big tip to put in the spiritual toolbox.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it again comes back to that choice, right? Like, am I going to choose to continue to show up and kind of pull myself out of it so that I can give back and can help people? And like you said, it just comes back to you, that it lights you up. You know, I've talked about some of the things I've been through in the last like year and a half. I haven't had an easy year and a half, but having this podcast and creating my coaching program that I started this year, and then having all the clients I've been working with for years and teaching yoga, like all of that stuff, I've had days where I'm like, how can I do that? Like, I cannot do it today. Like, how can I show up? And then I just do. And then I feel so much better than when I'm like laying in bed, eating bonbons or whatever. But I mean, sometimes you just got to do that too.
Sometimes you do. Yes,
Yeah.
Sometimes you do. And it's okay. You know, you just give yourself time limits. You know, I never say there's really no right or wrong or yes or no. It's just what it is for you. But just remind yourself not to stay in the victim mode. And I'm certainly not a proponent of somebody who says, if you're hurting, to ignore it and just act like everything's okay and say your positive affirmations. No. I'm not saying that at all. When you hurt and you're feeling, you give yourself time. You know, you hold yourself gently. You ask for help. You get the support until you're able to get back off your feet. But give yourself a time limit, and just realize, okay, this is not getting me anywhere. If anything, I'm going further down. Then that's when you get yourself out of bed. And again, ask for spirit's assistance, ask for a friend's assistance. There's nothing wrong. It makes me crazy. And I used to be this way, which is why it made me crazy. I was always this type A personality. I had so many secrets. I never wanted anybody to know I had a mentally ill mother. I never wanted anybody to know that I had a suicide attempt. I didn't want anybody to know I had a problem with sleeping pills. And I didn't want anybody to know I went to rehab, because I'm a wellness coach. Shouldn't you be perfect? Shouldn't you be all these things? No, I went and I got help. I got support. And then all of those things that I thought were liabilities were actually the beautiful gold nuggets in my life. And that gave me strength. It also gave me my coaching career. It also gave me, all of the work that I do, because people will align with you when you're real, when you share your vulnerabilities, when you share your experiences, and they're not all great, but how did you overcome them? So I just recently, as a matter of fact, I'm writing a book right now about my experience. And oh my gosh, Kelly, I was in a leadership class 2 years ago, and the coach who was leading it, she says, I feel like you've got some secrets. And I looked at her and I was like, if you only knew. If you only knew. And I got very sick because I kept holding him. I got this autoimmune disease. And when I was down in bed, there was another example. They said, well, you need to go to bed for 6 months. And I'm like, are you kidding? Do you know my life? Who has time to go to bed for 6 months? And I found this other, amazing doctor, but I took that time as I was in bed. I was in bed for 3 months, but I wrote out my secrets and I got rid of them. And then I had a download from Spirit about how to unleash your secrets, who you talk to about them. There's a whole protocol that's very, very important. If you have a secret that nobody knows, but it's killing you inside, you're hanging on to it, and you're slowing your life down because of it, don't do it. Guess what? Nobody flipping cares. They don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially when you come out on the other side, they want to know, wow. And you know what they do? They start opening up about their secrets. When I went to rehab, this was a couple years ago, because when my dad died in my last divorce, I started taking Lunesta, 6 years every night. And I could feel my brain getting clogged, and I my memory was going, and I was right before I was supposed to do a TED talk. I couldn't remember a thing. And I went to rehab. I said, you know what? Got a problem. I went secretly. I told my best friend, that was it. And when I was in there, I unloaded a lot of other things. And I came out, and I wasn't sure how I was going to handle it here with my girlfriends. I was on a hike with a girlfriend, and she said, so what happened to you? You were gone for like a month, and what, did you go to some retreat or something? And there is that fork in the road. And I said, I guess you could call it a retreat. And she turns around, she looks at me, and she goes, where'd you go? And I said, I went to Seasons in Malibu. I said, rehab. And she went, what? I said, yeah, I've been hooked on sleeping pills for 6 years. And she started crying, and she looked at me, she took my hands, and she goes, oh my God, Pirie, so am I. I went, what? And she said, I am too. How did you get help? So I shared with her. She went. 5 girlfriends went, all for the same problem. And if I hadn't shared my truthfulness with her, I wouldn't have been able to help her. Yeah. And now all these other women are free from that. So don't be afraid of your secrets. Let them go, because your secrets are really your gold nuggets, and if you guys want to, if you want to go to my website, I have that PDF that you can download for free. It's just like 4 pages. And it just takes you through, how to let them go, what's appropriate, who do I talk to, all of that. So you do it in safety.
That is so powerful. Thank you. When's your book going to come out?
Well, we're doing the last edits now, so probably the 1st of next year. And
so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. That was a big one for me. And oh my gosh. but I'm really excited. I'm really excited because, you know, I just know, I feel like as crazy as my life has been, and I've been very blessed. And I want people to know that they can be too. You know, this isn't just about my story where, oh my God, look at this, look what I did here, blah, blah, blah. No, you're going to hear a lot of stories about how I fell flat on my face
Yeah.
and I should be dead. I've had 9 lives, but I tell people how I came out of it and the blessings came, and I'm doing exactly what my purpose is. And I know what it is. And I know everybody out there can do that.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it's so powerful, and thank you for sharing all of this and for everything that you're going to share in your book and that you share on your show and all of that, because I just, you said you didn't know why you kept wanting to talk about this, but I think it's just so important for people to hear that, even when you are in the wellness space and you're teaching all this stuff, it doesn't mean you're perfect. And again, it's a journey. We're never going to stop learning. We're never going to stop having to go through the lessons, but we can support ourselves through all of that with these different tools that we talked about. And like you said, by finding support within different people, I think it's really hard for some people to seek support and to feel like other people can hold them up and support them. So I think that is also such a beautiful takeaway from just everything that you shared.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. You know, guilt and shame holds us back. Those 2 words. And if you guys resonate with those 2 words, go read a lot of Brene Brown books. She talks all about letting go of guilt and shame, because that's what keeps us from reaching out. That's what keeps us from, we keep all these secrets inside of us and we think we're such a bad person. No, you're not. Remember what I said, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And this is Earth School, and we're all going to learn lessons one way or the other. Nothing is right or wrong, right? It just is.
Yeah.
So give yourself some grace and let go of that shame and guilt so you can live the empowered life that you were meant to live and what you came on this Earth School for.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all there to help you, as you said earlier, grow and evolve as a soul and go into love, right?
Yeah. And none of us are better than the others. You brought something up. I just want to share this one thing. So when I came back from rehab, I wrote my story on Thrive Global for Thrive Global. And I got a lot of people comments and stuff. And there was this one man who reached out to me and he said, I don't want to tell you my name. He said, I'm a pretty well-known coach. He said, but I have a problem with Lunesta as well. And he said, my wife gave me this article and I just want to know how you got help. And I shared with him, he got help, he wrote me back later and, told me who it was. And I thought, wow, we as healers, we're not perfect. We're going to disappoint ourselves. We're going to disappoint our clients. We're going to disappoint, we're not perfect. So one of us is not any better than the other. You know what I'm saying? And you just have to remember the light that you are, because all of us are. And whenever some dark experiences have happened, let them go. It's okay. It's never too late to start over. And that's the theme of, Own Your Throne, our podcast that my partner Diane Chandler and I do. It's mainly for women 40 and up, and always telling them it's never too late to start your dream. Never. I don't care how old you are. You could be 76. We have so many stories of women in 70s, 80s, 90s who, are starting new things. So don't give up on yourself, because the world needs you, needs your voice. And as you said, look, there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's a lot of healers and people out there that have plenty of work to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if, your purpose isn't to be a healer, just by taking your lessons and then, as you said, seeing how you can give back, taking those lessons and seeing what you feel passionate about, what really means something to you, and then doing something about that, that's going to make the world light up even more.
So
we
true.
all have our roles that we can play in making this planet, this human experience better for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank your challenges. Thank your experiences. Thank those. Those were your test. Those were your tests. That was your curriculum. You know, I look back on all the things that I shared about today. That was all
Mhm.
part of my curriculum. And I passed. So that's what I really want people to know is there's nothing you can say that is so bad and horrible and terrible that God won't forgive you. You're the one that's got to forgive yourself more than anybody. But pick yourself up by your bootstraps and say, yep, that was a big one. But you know what? I can get through it. I can heal through it, and I can move forward and be a soldier and just, you know, do what I really want to be doing in life. Don't let life lead you. You lead life. You're the creator of your life.
Yes. Yeah. Mic drop. So amazing. Well, I could keep talking to you forever.
Thank you, Kelly.
But yeah, maybe we'll have to have you back on for a part two. I mean, there's more I wanted to dive in with you. So thank you again for coming on. Thank you for sharing your message and your light and your story. Can you tell people, anything else from you that they can find, and I can link it in the show notes? Like you
Oh,
mentioned your
sure.
TED Talk and your
Sure.
podcast and all of that. And then what's next for you
Oh
other
my
than
God.
your amazing book?
Well, I'm really excited about the podcast. So you can get a hold of me two different ways. Go to my website, which is PirieJonesGrossman.com. And if you want to, get some of the freebies on there, download the secrets PDF. Also want to give your listeners an opportunity if they want to sign up for a 20-minute, one-on-one coaching call with me. You can sign up for that and do that. I'm going to be having I'm pretty excited about this, a 4-week group class starting in January, which is all about unleashing your limiting beliefs and getting that cleared so you can move forward into finding your purpose and what you want to do. So that's going to be in January. Or ownyourthrone.co, and go to our podcast page. And we also have some freebies on that website too for you. What is it like to own your throne, which means owning your life? And
Mm-hmm.
Diane and I put together a little workbook that I think a lot of people have been enjoying. And go listen to the interviews. We've got some amazing guests that talk about. We just had a doctor talk about COVID, the vaccines. We've had Jennifer Slavin Stallone on. We've had Rita Hanks on. We've had, it's all mixture between celebrities and doctors and all kinds of people, everyday people who are just sharing their stories because they're inspirational stories that, they make you feel good. And that's one of those things that we were talking about earlier, right, Kelly, where
Mm-hmm.
what are things that you do to protect that, how you're feeling, your vibe? That's listening to uplifting podcasts like Kelly's. My God, I listen to you every morning for the past week as I'm
Oh
on my treadmill. No, I love the wealth girl who was on. Oh my God, I heard all about your retreat at Joshua Tree. I mean, I just love that. And it's so important. There's so many great podcasts out there. Reading books. Listen, I'm gonna do a couple of favorite books because you asked
Oh,
me
please
before.
do. Yeah.
This is a big one. This was written by my teachers where I got my master's in spirituality. It's called Loyalty to Your Soul, and it's Dr. Ron and Mary Hulnick, Hulnick.
Cool. I'll link
Yeah,
that. I'll link all of these in the show notes. Yeah.
yes. And then this one I happened to write a chapter in. It's called Soul Success. You'll love the title. Stories and lessons from female leaders who turn piles of shit into nuggets of gold. And I'm gonna put
That's
this on
amazing.
and there's some stories in there of some authors that is just amazing. That you'll read and you'll think, oh my God, if they went through that, I can go through what I'm going through. That's the whole purpose of it. And then the
Yes, I
third one
love
that I
that.
really love, this is a little unknown. It's called Everything Happens for a Reason. And
That's
the author
beautiful.
is Kate Bowler. Yes.
Okay.
She shares her story, and it's just reminding ourselves that when things happen, they're not so great. Look at what it's trying to do. It's trying to redirect you to another place.
Ugh,
So,
yes. Oh, so good. Thank you. I can't wait to read all of those books. I just posted an episode yesterday that is all my favorite books because I just think that
yes,
reading is one of the best things that we can do to support our growth. in any
Absolutely.
area. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's tons of great apps, the Calm, Headspace. There was one
Mhm.
I didn't even know about. I'll have to call you later with it because I didn't write it down, but it's a new one. You have to pay for it, but it's good for Android and Apple, but we put that one in there. That's really clever. It's
Oh,
again, people's
cool.
stories. We all connect. And when we hear each other's stories, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
we learn, and then it gives us hope, and we're such a collective. And especially right now during COVID, it's been so hard to connect. I encourage people to do a lot of Zoom calls with friends and teachers and people that are uplifting, and they're not toxic, but they
Mhm.
just feed your soul. Take that time to do it, and your girl tribe or your guy tribe, just stay connected. Stay connected.
So important. Yeah. That hope piece, I think, is like the biggest thing that comes to me when I think of like story sharing and just, yeah, knowing we're not alone. We're not
Right.
alone, like in this human existence. We're not alone on a spiritual level. We always have support
We
around us at
do.
all times. Yeah.
We do.
Sometimes we have to look for it a little bit harder, but
We do. And ask. Just do the simple thing of asking for help. I'll say that to my clients. Say, well, this is going on, this is going on. I'll ask them two questions. I'll say, first of all, why did you create all that? They're like, what? What do you mean I created it? I go, yeah, you did. And then secondly is what is it that's keeping you in the same place? Why aren't you asking for help? Like, well, thought maybe it's just supposed to come in through osmosis. I go, no, your words are so powerful. So watch your words, watch what you say to yourself, what you say to others. So the importance of asking is extremely important, and we forget it. It's very
yeah.
simple, but we forget it.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on. You are so wonderful. We'll have to have you
Oh,
back. And yeah, thank you.
thank you, sweetie. Thank you. I know I listen to you again tomorrow morning on the treadmill.
Oh my God, that's amazing.